Hello, it is I, Hades, and we will be talking about who I think in NXT will become a champion by the end of 2024. Now, last week I just did my who I think in WWE will be a champion by the end of 2024, and I said I wanted to do NXT, so here I am. WrestleMania weekend has passed. It's behind us now, and things are changing within NXT and WWE, and I think there's quite a few people who can become champion by the end of this year. Now, as I said in the last video, this is just me thinking who I think, and there's no real like I'll be using, you know, examples and stuff that I've seen from TV, of course, because this is how we're doing. I have 5 people for the women's and the men's divisions. One being the most likely to win the win a championship by the end of this year, and 5 being the least likely, but I could still see it happening. Now, I'm doing this for singles championships, not doing it for tag team. That's a whole different ball game, but this is strictly for singles championships. All right, and coming in at my number 1 for the women who I think will win a championship by the end of the year, this might be surprising. It's Thea Hale. The reason I think this is because, you know, she's on TV a lot and she's had storylines, and now with the new Women's North American Championship, it opens up a lot of opportunities for a lot of people to win gold. And I think Thea Hale is on the top of that list. She's very over with the NXT crowd, and I think that helps a lot. She has a lot of personality. She's had storylines, but she hasn't really been in that picture. She had the one NXT Women's Championship match, excuse me, where, you know, Andre Chase threw on the towel and it was revealed that he was gambling. I don't know. There's a lot of shit going on. A lot of stuff going on NXT, but I really like Thea Hale. I like her style. She's fun to watch. She has a lot of energy. It's very infectious. And I think it wouldn't be a bad idea if they have like a tournament or something for the North American Women's Championship that Thea Hale wins. Now, I will say that a lot of women on this list are for the North American Women's Championship, because I feel like that opens up so many opportunities for a lot of people on that roster. They have a very strong women's roster over there, and that are just getting better and better. So there's a lot of people I could have put on this list. And again, this is just my opinion, but I think Thea Hale is on the top of that list because of how over she is. She's very good in the ring. I think she has some pretty solid matches. Her NXT Women's Championship match was really fun. So yeah, number 1, Thea Hale. And coming in at number 2, when we're talking about fun movesets, you have to talk about Sol Ruca. Sol Ruca has one of the most unique movesets, I think, in just WWE right now. She's very athletic. Her finisher is so sick. I love her finisher a lot. And while Thea Hale, I think, was more like my heart picking who I would want to win that championship, I think Sol Ruca is the logical one here. If I had to guess, I think NXT's pretty high on Sol Ruca, even though she hasn't really had any like marquee matches, but she was also out with an injury for a while. And before she went out with the injury, I wasn't watching NXT very much, admittedly. So I don't know how she was positioned before her injury, but just seeing her moveset and the crowd's reactions to her and all that stuff, I feel like she is definitely a front runner for the NXT North American Women's Championship. I think most people are thinking that right now. And like, I could have switched Sol Ruca and Thea Hale easily here, but I went with my heart with Thea Hale because I like Thea Hale a lot. So yeah, Sol Ruca's at number 2, and it would not surprise me if she is definitely champion in some regard by the end of the year. And I know she's having a match with Blair Davenport, who is not on this list, surprisingly. I'm gonna tell you now, Blair Davenport's not on this list. I think Blair's going to the main roster sooner than later, but I think Sol Ruca's going to be around in NXT for a while, and I think she's going to have some gold around her waist sooner than later. So yeah, number 2, Sol Ruca. All right, and coming in at number 3, we have Tatum Paxley. Now, while most of this list is for the NXT North American Women's Championship, I think Tatum Paxley can win the NXT Women's Championship by the end of the year. Right now, at the time of recording, she is going to be in a triple threat match with Lyra Valkyria and Roxanne Perez during spring breaking for the NXT Women's Championship. And I think that's just showing she can be in that picture. She has some of the best character work in NXT, I think. with her being obsessed with the gold and just attaching to anyone who has a championship, the NXT Women's Championship, I think in specific. I think that's something that will keep her in that main event picture more often. And I like it, man. I like Tatum Paxley a lot. I think her moveset is interesting. She's just a very good character. And as I've said in videos in the past, I love good characters in wrestling. So Tatum Paxley is well at the top of my list for people I enjoy watching right now, and it would be awesome to see her win some gold by the end of the year. I think it's very possible. She's at 3 because like I'm not too sure, because she is like a character, and like her being on the chase might be more fun for her character than actually winning the belt, you know what I'm saying? But as a fan of Tatum Paxley, I would love to see her win a championship by the end of the year, or just in the future in general. I think in the future in general, definitely, but we're going by the end of 2024. So I have her at number 3. Now at number 4, I feel like this probably doesn't surprise anyone who knows what's going on in wrestling, why she's on this list. But we have Giulia, one of the newest NXT signings. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. I'm sorry if I'm not, but I think it's pretty obvious that she is going to be a champion by the end of the year. I think she's supposed to debut at NXT Heatwave is the rumor right now, in July, I think. And I assume it's going to be for the North American Women's Championship, honestly. I think she's going to be in that card, in that chase for that championship when she debuts. I could be wrong. I know that I could be wrong, but I think she's such a marquee signing. I think they're very high on her. It's pretty safe to say she will be in that championship picture and probably win it. Like, she could be much higher on this list, obviously, but I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what NXT has planned for her, obviously, and when she's even coming, because it's only rumors right now. We have no set in stone debut dates or anything of that nature, because I think she has prior engagements before actually jumping into the NXT wagon and coming along for the ride. So I have Giulia at number 4, and coming in at number 5, who I think is least likely to win by the end of the year, but I could still see it happening, is Lola Vice. Now, Lola Vice had the breakout win, and she had the contract where she cashed in against Lyra when Lyra and Roxanne had their match at Vengeance Day, I believe. And yeah, I think they're pretty high on Lola. I think the crowd likes Lola a lot, and I think that affects it. I think she's not bad in the ring by any means. I'm not like the biggest fan of her character personally, that's just me, but I think it's possible that she could win some gold at the end of by the end of the year. Like I said, with the North American Women's Championship, a lot can happen for a lot of people. So yeah, I think Lola Vice is definitely somebody I could see winning a championship by the end of the year, because people seem to be very high on her. She has a pretty solid moveset. Her character's not the worst by any means. She's not too bad on the mic. I still think there's like improvements, but NXT is the quote unquote developmental brand. So Lola Vice is at number 5. She could easily be like number 3 too, honestly, because she's been in that picture. I think right now she's having a feud with Natalia. I think she's gonna have at the time of recording this, I think she's having the first women NXT underground match for women, I think is going to happen. So that's interesting. But I'd like to see what happens with Lola Vice and where she goes and how she improves. So yeah, she is number 5 on my list of women I think will be champion by the end of the year. I don't think anyone on my list is too crazy. Personally, maybe you switch Thea Hale and Soruka because of the NXT North American Women's Championship, but I think there's the validity to Thea Hale being the most likely. So yeah, now that is the women done. Let's move over to the men. All right, we're gonna start with the obvious one right off the bat. Number 1, Trick Williams. I don't think anyone is surprised by this. At the time of recording, by the week after, I think, is it next week? I think next week he's fighting Ilya for the championship, so he might win, because Ilya said if Trick Williams loses, he has to leave NXT, and I don't think he's leaving NXT. I think he just ended his biggest feud with Carmelo, and I think his the steel cage match at the time of recording was a couple days ago, and I think that pretty much solidifies that he is staying in NXT. He won his big feud with his biggest rival. I think they could have just ended it at Stand and Deliver, and maybe you could just put Carmelo on the main roster and have him take a break until the draft. I don't think they needed the steel cage match, but it was still a solid match regardless. And I think it solidifies that Trick is at the top of the food chain for NXT. I think he wins at Spring Breaking, and I think Ilya is going to make his way up to the main roster, which I don't hate at all. I want to see Ilya versus Gunther, please. I want to see Ilya versus everyone. I don't think I've mentioned this, but Ilya is like I think he's probably my favorite wrestler right now. Maybe, I don't know. There's so many good people right now in WWE, but I love Ilya Dragunov and him in the main roster. There's so many dream matches on for him on that on those rosters for me. So yeah, I think Trick Williams is going to win the NXT championship very, very, very soon. So he is my number 1. And coming in at number 2, we have Dijak. I love this man. This man has not had a bad match what feels like ever. He always delivers. He's so hard hitting, so fun to watch. Everyone he's had matches with has just been so awesome. The triple threat match at Stand and Deliver was my match almost of the weekend. Honestly, it was so good, between how everyone performed, the camera work when fucking Obafemi lifted up Dijak off of Josh Briggs. Brother, that shit was so awesome. I think it's crazy that he hasn't won the North American Championship at this point, but he's so good on the chase, I guess, that maybe that's why. But I want him to win a championship so bad. I think it'll be the North American Championship before the NXT Championship, but hell, any championship I want him to have, because I think he deserves it so much. He's always delivering on every match he's in, whether it's a PLE or just on NXT television, like the cage match, the Asylum match or whatever it was called, with Joe Gacy, that was on NXT. Like, that match was awesome. So yeah, I think it's only a matter of time for Dijak. I think he's well deserving of a championship reign in NXT. He's been doing so much for the brand, always delivering, great on the mic, good character. Like, I can't get enough of this man. I love him. So yeah, Dijak at number 2. Push Dijak. And coming in at number 3, Joe Gacy. Now this one's probably a little surprising for people. I think my thought on this is that they're just very high on Joe Gacy right now. I think Joe Gacy is getting over pretty well, and I think he's somebody who doesn't necessarily need the gold for his character to prosper and for him to get over with the people and have big marquee matches. I don't think he needs it necessarily, but I do think I can see it happening with the NXT North American Championship, maybe an NXT Championship match in his future. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I could see him in the North American title picture and possibly winning. I could see it by the end of the year. I think he's pretty much always on NXT television in some way, shape, or form, and I think that just speaks to how, you know, they like him over there. So I could see Joe Gacy possibly winning. I have him at 3 because, like, again, I don't think he necessarily needs to win a championship. I still think he has a character in which will still be over regardless of a championship win, just because he's so fun in the ring. Like, he's really nailed this whole crazy person act that he's doing. He's nailed it so well. So I think 3 is a safe spot for Joe Gacy. Okay, and coming into number 4, we have Javon Evans, the young OG, formerly known as Jay Malachi. Now, he wasn't on my list when I originally came up with this video idea, but since his debut, and he just had a match with fucking Ilya Dragunov this week on NXT, that was amazing, by the way. Like, such a good match. I don't know, man. I think NXT is really high on him after his performances since his debut, his performances on Level Up. I did not have him on this list, and now I do, and I have him at 4 because I feel like this is safe, because, you know, he did just debut, so it's pretty unlikely that he wins a championship this year, but I think next year for sure, 100%, he's a champion next year. 1,000%, whether it's NXT or North American. I think he's definitely winning a belt by next year, but I have him at 4 for this year because I'm not 100% sure, but it would not surprise me. It really wouldn't. I did want, like, I did see a couple of his highlights from when he was in DPW, Deadlock Pro Wrestling, and I was like, wow, this guy is awesome. WWE should sign him. And then like a couple weeks later, after I saw those clips, I saw he got signed, and like I knew he was going to be good, but like, man, the match with Scripps really showed off like what he can do. And then the match with Ilya was just like, oh brother, this the kid has such a bright future. He's like, what, 19? He's so young. He's a baby. Like he's so young and he's so good, and he's gonna have so many awesome matches in NXT. He's one of those people where, like, for me, like, Ilya has not had a bad match with anyone. I think that Javon Evans could be that same way. I think there's so many people on the NXT roster that he can have matches with that would be awesome. Like him versus Obafemi, they have such differing styles that I think it would be so cool for them to go against each other on a one-on-one match. I think him and Dijak would go pretty hard. There's so many people that I feel like he could really have a great match with, and the future is bright with in NXT with them having Javon Evans. So he is at my number 4, but honestly, I wish I could put him at my number 1 and just he gets a belt like tomorrow. Like he's so awesome. So yeah, he is at my number 4, and now we're going to move on to the number 5. All right, and coming in at my number 5 is Josh Briggs. Now, I've been high on Josh Briggs ever since the Deadlock match, and his chemistry with Dijak is awesome. And I think at Stand and Deliver, he really showed that he can go. Now, granted, you know, he had Obafemi and Dijak, but I feel like Josh Briggs is pretty good, and I think they're slowly gaining more trust with him, and he's going to have a bigger role in NXT by the end of the year. I have him at 5 because I don't know how likely it is for him to win one of the championships. You know, he did just lose to Ivar, I believe, and Ivar is going to have a match with Obafemi. So yeah, but I think Josh Briggs only lost that match in terms of like storytelling because he was already hurt from the match he had at Stand and Deliver, and I think that was like showing his toughness, like, oh, I'm hurt, you know, but I'm still gonna have this match with Ivar. It's promising for him. I could see it definitely happening, like not definitely, but like I could see it happening by the end of the year, just in some way, shape, or form. But I honestly would not be surprised if it's like next year that he wins. I think he's going to get a belt eventually because he's pretty damn good in the ring. He's had some solid matches so far with the big boys over the North American Championship. I think we need to see him have some more matches with people who are, you know, a little bit different in fighting style, you know. I think Josh Briggs versus Javon Evans could be cool. Josh Briggs versus a couple other people, man. I think he can really shine. I think he's getting better, and it'd be cool to see him win. I'm starting to like him quite a bit after his matches lately for the North American Championship. So yeah, that is my number 5, Josh Briggs, and that's going to do it for the list. Now, if you stuck around for the whole video, thank you. Of course, I'm having a lot of fun just talking about wrestling, yapping about who I think can win and other things like that. If you have any ideas or anything you want me to talk about in a video, I don't mind hearing some ideas, and maybe I'll do them because ideas are always good, and I love talking about wrestling, and I'm glad that I'm finally doing it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.